Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Chris Weidenbach, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Lieutenant Colonel Luke Sanders. We are honoured to acknowledge Lieutenant General Sir John Lorimer, Chief of Joint Operations, United Kingdom, Vice Admiral Timothy Fraser, Chief Joint Operations Designate, United Kingdom, Vice Admiral David Johnston, Chief of Joint Operations, Australia, Air Vice Marshal Arjun Subramaniam, Joint Secretary of the National Defence College, India, and his wife, Mrs. Mudika Subramaniam. We are also honoured to welcome the accompanying delegations. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors and by students on behalf of the following schools. From South Australia, St Francis Xavier Regional School, Wynn Vale. From Victoria, Yarra Valley Grammar School Primary Department, Ringwood. And from Queensland, Fig Tree Pocket State School. Can I ask you all please to stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Boys and girls, you may now be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front throughout the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Martin Larkin. Martin Joseph Larkin was born in 1877 in Lament, New South Wales, to William and Anne Larkin. He was educated at St Benedict's Boys' School and went on to serve 4 years with the Royal Irish Regiment. Larkin went on to work as a blacksmith and was a founding member of the popular New Time Pastime Club. However, he was best known as a boxer. His name was Paddy Martin. He participated in a number of widely publicised bouts around the turn of the century. Martin enlisted into the Australian Imperial Force in September 1914, roughly a month after his younger brother Ted Larkin, a prominent rugby player and a member of the New South Wales Legislative Assembly. The two were posted to the 1st Battalion and left Australia for active overseas service with the 1st Contingent. The Larkin brothers landed in Gallipoli on the 25th of April in 1916. Sergeant Ted Larkin had a close call shortly after wading ashore with some of his equipment as it was hit by a Turkish bullet. He quickly led his section to the heights above the beach, but was killed in action about 3 o'clock in the afternoon as he led a charge against Turkey's positions. Ted Larkin's body was recovered and placed in a trench with a blanket over his face. Private Martin Larkin came along the trench looking to see who had been killed. A London magazine later told the story that Martin, pulling aside the blanket covering the dead man's face, gave a cry of horror. It was his own brother. He bowed his head reverently for a moment over the cold, set features. Then, snatching a rifle and bayonet from the man nearest him, he scrambled quickly across the trench. Before any man present suspected his intention, Paddy Larkin was leaping towards the enemy to avenge his brother's death. A storm of bullets opened up on him. Very short and fierce was the fight, reported the magazine. But Paddy Larkin died happy. His brother's death was avenged. Private Martin Larkin's body was never recovered from the battlefield. Today he is commemorated on the Lone Pine Memorial. He was 38 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Martin Joseph Larkin, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Boys and girls, can I ask you to please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemned. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they'll be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.